Games against Penn State are always tough, and this weekend's matchup was no different. The Buckeyes won the game 44-31, and when they needed someone to rely on, JT Tuimoloau and Marvin Harrison Jr. stepped up and rose to the occasion. We'll break down what we witnessed over the weekend, what these two players did. Locked on Buckeyes starts right now.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Monday, October 31st in the year 2022, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. On today's episode, we will discuss what went down when over a 69-second span, the Penn State Nittany Lions found themselves down by 2 scores. Also, we'll discuss what issues we noticed about Ohio State in their game against Penn State. But before we get to any of that, when the Buckeyes needed somebody to rely on, a couple players or numerous players to rise to the occasion when the Buckeyes were down, when the Buckeyes needed somebody to play big and make big plays, JT Tuimoloau and Marvin Harrison Jr. were 2 Buckeyes that Ohio State could rely on when they needed big plays. I'm watching this entire game. This game was unlike any other game I have watched this season from my own standpoint and how I watched the game, and I'm sure it was the same for you. I felt a different level of anxiety. I was quieter throughout this game than normal. I was keeping all of my thoughts inside and really as optimistic as I am, even during close games. There were moments in this game, not that I thought Ohio State was going to lose by 3 touchdowns, but I did think at times, what's going on? The play calling's weird. Defense isn't tackling. You're wrapping up but not completing the tackle. What is going on? And JT Tuimoloau, we talked about it when he committed to Ohio State, talked about why I was so excited for his commitment to be a Buckeye, talked about what he brings to the table, talked about how he was he played multiple positions in high school, one of them being tight end, one of them being defensive end. He was also a guy who could play at linebacker depth in high school as well. So we saw the athleticism on display, saw him being able to play 2 positions on a position on both sides of the ball. So we saw all those things, talk about them when he was in high school. And Ohio State needed a defensive end or somebody in this game to step up on defense because tackling was an issue in this game. Like, being sound with your assignment was an issue at times in this game. The coach is putting in backup defensive linemen when everybody knows when the backups come in, that's generally when the opposing offense starts to move the ball. That was a problem once again in this game. And JT Tuimoloau, he filled the stat sheet. Marvin Harrison Jr., we all talk about how he stunts like his daddy, but he was being relied on like his dad was for the Indianapolis Colts. And Marvin Harrison Jr., 3rd and long. Joey Porter Jr. is guarding him one-on-one. Joey Porter Jr., the son of Joey Porter, former NFL football player. And so we all know dad was in the league on both sides. Dad was a dog on both sides. So we know what the dads have done. Marvin Harrison Jr. comes in, and he does amazing things. He is a receiver the Buckeyes can rely on, even in 3rd and long, that Ohio State could rely on in that moment. Marvin Harrison Jr. in this game ended up having 10 catches, 185 yards, didn't score a touchdown, but he caught key passes when the Buckeyes needed someone to do that. But I think JT Tuimoloau is the story. Everyone's talking about it. He is a dog. He had 6 tackles. He had 2 sacks. One was a strip sack. He had 3 tackles for loss. He had 2 interceptions. One was a pick 6. He had 1 pass breakup, which led to Zach Harrison's interception. I mean, he was a dog, and I marvel at what he's done. But in this game, when I am watching him, And I marvel the pick six. I mean, I can break down numerous plays that he had on the field in this game. But that pick six late in the game, as he walked up like, I do this, I've been doing this, I am that dude, I am that guy. JT Tuimoloau, previously earlier in the game, he read screen. He was on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage. He read screen. And the offensive tackle did not try to chop block him or anything. He just tried to do a regular block, get his hands down without going chop blocking, to get his hands down so that JT Tuimoloau could not disrupt the quick screen that Sean Clifford was trying to throw. Well, Sean Clifford threw the quick screen earlier in the game. Tuimoloau gets his hands up, both paws up, extends them. He's about 6'5". He's a tall boy, got a good wingspan. He gets his paws up, tips the ball that leads to Zach Harrison's interception. Later in the game, he's on the other side of the defensive line, and Penn State wants to run a screen to the other way. But this time they're backed up in their own territory. What does Tuimoloau do? JTT, as many people call him to shorten his name. JTT at this point, the offensive tackle is trying to chop block him. So what do? Offensive tackle, his job is make sure your guy does not have his hands up and disrupt the passing lane. Quick screen once again. Offensive tackle comes in to chop block JTT. JTT quickly sees the chop, but he also reads the screen. So instead of going up, he reads screen, goes to the side a little bit, hands down on the tackle, pushes him down to the ground to avoid the chop block. At the same time, hands go way up. Those of y'all watching the YouTube see my hands outside of the screen. Puts his hands way up, catches the ball. Almost, it's a consistent motion. Hands down. At the same time, hands go back up, catches the ball, pick six, goes into the end zone, puts the ball down, walks off like I am the man, because he is the man. Marvin Harrison Jr. is somebody the Buckeyes can rely on in key moments. Remember, I said third and long. Joey Porter Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., their dads did amazing things. What happened? They changed the route, because I was thinking it was going to be a quick hitch. Move it to a slant, catch the ball, first down, move the chains. You can rely on me to get the ball moving and to move the chains on the field. JTT can be relied on. These two guys are elite. I'm not going to say what they're going to do in the National Football League. I'm just going to say these are two of the best guys on the team. JTT, Marvin Harrison Jr. I said right here prior to the Buckeyes starting the second half of the regular season, I said JTT is one of the guys who I believe will be an impact player for the defense during the second half of the season. We have seen in 2 games so far, the second half of the regular season, he can be relied on. He is that dude. From 2 guys that were marvelous throughout the entire game that did amazing things, to 2 more guys that showed up big during a crucial point in the fourth quarter. Stroud, Stover, what did they do to quickly take a 2-score lead over a 69-second span? We'll discuss that next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. BetOnline.net is your #1 source for betting football in the start of the new basketball season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sport wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to betonline.net today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks for making Locked on Buckeyes your first listen every day. For your second listen today, check out Locked on Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked on can provide. Locked on Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your fine podcast. So over a 69-second span, for the 9:26 mark in the fourth quarter, when Penn State took a 21-16 lead off of a 1-yard touchdown run from Cade Allen, 69 seconds later, the Penn State Nittany Lions saw themselves down by 2 scores, and they're sitting here wondering what happened over this span. Well, I do believe we can quickly see that there was a connection that Stroud saw with Stover. And over this season, Stroud and Stover have formed a connection and a trust on the football field. And that was on full display. When the Buckeyes are now 21-16, and people are wondering what's going on with this team, why in the world are they struggling to move the ball? What's going on with the running game? Why is it that when Mayan Williams goes down, the running game is not there? What is going on? And when you needed two players to show up and show out and to make amazing plays, I can highlight Stover for the next 5 minutes and discuss what he did over Travion Henderson's touchdown run and the touchdown catch that he had. But it also goes to C.J. Stroud. Because last segment I talked about how Harrison Jr. made a crucial and a big third and long catch on Joey Porter Jr. And what did Harrison do? Ran a slant. It was wide open. It was there. Joey Porter Jr. gave him all the space. They said, hey, mano a mano, one-on-one, you're on an island. You have this man. You know how to guard him. But you can't stop him because Marvin Harrison Jr. is that dude. They call him Route Man Mar for a reason. So Stroud and Harrison Jr. have a connection and a trust, but so do Stover and Stroud throughout the entirety of this season. So I could simply talk about that touchdown catch, but we have to go first to Travion Henderson's touchdown run. Because if you think about what Henderson has been and what we have talked about here on this podcast, and who I think and still believe should be the starting running back at Ohio State, we all know Henderson's durability is questionable. He's not the most durable running back. We all know his vision needs to get better. We all know that a lot of times, he dances in the backfield. If the hole's not there, a lot of times, nothing's going to happen. We know these things about Henderson. So in the moment, he gets the ball, handoff, Stroud to Henderson. And a lot of times, the Buckeyes run game, and when they're going to run the ball, it's predictable simply by formation. That's really bad. Hint, hint, that might be something we talk about in the very next segment when I talk about the issues going on with Ohio State right now. But Henderson gets the ball, goes right side. I believe it was the B gap or C gap, one of the two gaps on the right side of the line. DeJuan Jones gets his block. Matt Jones gets his block, and Matt Jones was someone that got exposed and had a little issues against the physicality of the Penn State front. But Matt Jones gets his block. Luke Whippler gets his block. In comes Cade Stover, who makes a phenomenal block on the backer, which propels it, opens up the hole for Henderson. And Henderson gets through the hole. Next thing you know, we all know he can hit the home run when it's there. He hit that home run on that 41-yard touchdown run. But that was large in part to Cade Stover and the phenomenal block that he made. Yes, the touchdown catch, that's going to get the attention. The touchdown, the catch that he makes, that's going to get the oohs and the ahs. Oh, the ability for him to jump over a defender who's trying to dive at him to tackle him, that's going to get the highlight. But that block, as Joe Klatt so well pointed out in the broadcast, those are the things that you need if you want to be a championship team. The Buckeyes want to win a championship. They need good blocking tight ends. Cade Stover fits that description. Henderson gets it. Henderson goes. Henderson celebrates. Great for Travion Henderson. Remember, over a 69-second span, the Buckeyes they were down 5, then took a 2-score lead. Think about how wild that is. In a game where you struggle to get things done, you get some amazing plays. And later in this whole 69-second stretch, remember how I talked about that Stroud and Stover have a connection and a trust. That when the Buckeyes need a catch, when the Buckeyes need something and they need to rely on somebody, it's not just a passing game. It could be the running game, could be an audible to Stover's side or a motion to the other side to kind of open up the running game and open up the running path. Stover can be that guy. He has that trust with the team right now. Well, later on in this same little 69-second sequence, Stover is open in the flat on the left. Now, I'm not saying that he was a first option, but he was an option in this play. And Stroud knew, hey, I can rely on this guy to get the ball, secure that rock, keep it in tight, not fumble it, and to get some yards after the catch. I can rely on him. And when I keep mentioning this game, the Buckeyes running game was bad, y'all. I don't care what the final numbers say or the yards per carry. I haven't even looked at the numbers lately. I'll tell you what the yards per carry was, and I'll tell you if it was bad or not. Yeah, they averaged 3.8 yards a pop. That's bad. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable at all. Everybody knows that. Henderson knows that. Mine Williams was only in there for a hot minute. Had 2 carries, 9 yards, 1 touchdown, 4.5 yards a pop on 2 carries. One of them was in short yardage. I mean, I understand what's going on, but the running game was not there. The passing game, the physicality was a problem for Ohio State. And so you need somebody in the red zone where the Buckeyes, even earlier in the game, struggled. Noah Ruggles even missed a kick. So there was just some abnormal things to this game. They could rely on Stover. Stroud throws the ball to Stover to the left. Stover catches the ball, goes up, breaks a tackle, sidestep to the right. I forget exactly which way, but he sidestepped, did a little juke move to the right like he's playing NCAA football 14. I still play that religiously. I love that game. Can't wait till the new one comes out next year. I'll play that one religiously as much as I can. But Stover keeps going. Stroud to Stover. Stover misses the first guy, makes the first guy miss, keeps on going, sidesteps, makes another guy miss. And I'm sitting here like, ooh, I like that guy. Next thing you know, he goes to the end zone. Before getting into the end zone, there's another defender sitting there. Buddy, he lowers that shoulder. Yeah, I remember the old truck stick in Madden. It's still a thing in Madden. I haven't played Madden in a while, but I'm sure it's still a thing. The whole truck stick, when that first came out, you hit that button, bam, run the guy right over. You and your boys like, man, that was crazy. That's bad. Hey, it happens. I just know how to use the joystick and the controller to my advantage. That's exactly what happened. And as a defender, you don't want to get trucked, especially when you know you're the last line of defense before the goal line. He got trucked, ran him over, Stover touchdown. In over a 69-second span, Henderson's touchdown is going to get the highlight. I watched college football final on the ESPN. They showed that highlight. They showed that thing. Don't forget Cade Stover on both plays, a touchdown catch and the touchdown run. He was pivotal to both of those being successful plays. And don't forget CJ Stroud. He has connections with all these receivers. And there's a trust that Stroud has with Stover that was on full display once again on Saturday afternoon. That display, that trust was there. And I wish I had the trust in the Ohio State offense and the coaches to call the right plays and to put the players in the right position. But sometimes I just leave there scratching my head asking why are certain plays being called? What play or what plays am I questioning? And am I scratching my head after it is called on the field? We will discuss that next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. I had a little laugh before the break because, I'm trying to laugh things off. But there are some things going on right now with this team and the coaching staff and play calling and personnel and a lack of doing certain things on the offense. This might be a completely offensive segment. Defensively, I'll highlight one thing, but mostly, this is going to be an offensive segment because as elite as this offense is, as good as this offense is, this team should have scored more than 44 points against Penn State. Simply put, this team should have scored more points against Penn State than it did. Penn State should not have scored 31 points. Ohio State's better than that. And Ohio State should have scored more than 44 points against this team. If you have the first 3 quarters going way better and you're calling plays in the fourth quarter better than you did in the first 3 quarters, if you call those plays in the fourth quarter, in the first 3 quarters, Ohio State scores 55, 60 points against Penn State. Number 13 team in the country. I understand all of that. A lot of this is on coaching. And I never want to say in my lifetime again that Ryan Day got outcoached by Manny Diaz, but that's what we witnessed over the weekend. In portions of the game, throughout a lot of the game, Manny Diaz was dialing up the right plays, and Ryan Day and the personnel that was on the field had no answer. We all knew going into the game, TC Coffey backup, walk-on running back was out for the season. Talked about it last week on Locked on Buckeyes. Chip Traynor moves from linebacker to running back. That was the position that he played at Arizona State before transferring to Ohio State. He was a running back in high school in the state of Ohio, so he knows the running back position. A little bit heftier, He's going to be a little bit beefier on the field. He's going to bring a different punch than he did previously, but he is in the backfield right now. You also have Dallin Hayden, third-string running back, who got bumped up when Evan Pryor went down with a season-ending injury prior to the season. So you have Dallin Hayden, Chip train him. Dallin Hayden's probably going to be a guy who you might put in more quickly, but we've also seen Xavier Johnson in mop-up duty later in the game, kind of be in the backfield. And I'm thinking maybe that's something we might see down the road when the Buckeyes need a running back when one of their top two guys is hurt. What do we see in this game? Mayan Williams goes down. He scores a rushing touchdown. 2 carries, 9 yards, 1 touchdown, 4.5 yards of pop. He had that in the game. But Mayan Williams goes down. On the sidelines, you quickly saw him without his helmet. When he went to get his helmet at one point, you could tell in his body language, his face, he was probably not going on the back into the field due to his body language. And we all know TreVeyon Henderson has not played the football a lot of people think TreVeyon Henderson can play. We can only go off of what he has done and grade him in that way. So when TreVeyon Henderson has showed us what he can be, you might think in the crucial moment the Buckeyes might put a different player on the field to kind of help out there. It could easily be Xavier Johnson. I don't care. Or put a Buka in the backfield. Hey, you got a lot of guys that can tote that rock. They don't. They rely on Henderson. And I think that was a poor coaching move. You have to try something out, man. Just simply try something. I did not do it. It's kind of questionable. That's really, really odd to me. What else is questionable? This is more of an issue, not really questionable. An issue. Poor tackling. What do you do when you tackle? You wrap up, drive to the ground. Now, do you want to wrap up and spin? Do you want to wrap up and drive off of your own feet into the ground? Do something. Wrap up, take him to the ground. I'm not saying take him to the ground 5 yards down the field. You forcefully wrap him, and you forcefully in that spot take him to the ground. A lot of these guys have been doing this since they were kids. This is something they've been doing since elementary. They practice this all the time. But what did we see on Saturday? Parker Washington breaking tackles, Cade Allen breaking tackles, Singleton breaking tackles. I mean, these guys are breaking tackles because of poor technique. I don't want to go back to last year. I don't want to go back to what the Buckeyes did on defense last year. That was atrocious. That was bad. That's not up to the standard that has been set at the Ohio State University. But we saw poor tackling. We saw an issue between the guard, center, guard this year that for back-to-back weeks against physical fronts, against physically fundamentally sound fronts, Matt Jones, Luke Whippler, Donovan Jackson have issues. We see that. Not the same issues we saw last year when you had Paris Johnson Jr., Luke Whippler, and Thayer Munford at guard, center, guard, and we saw from right to left that the two guards were out of position. We clearly saw that last year. I think Donovan Jackson and Matt Jones are in the proper positioning, but honestly, there's something wrong there. You guys got to fix it. Honestly, I think it's not just schematics. It's just doing your job. Leverage, not so much justify as coaching the wrong things. I don't believe that. What is it? I firmly think it's simply just, hey, low man wins. Like, football is not, it's a harder game to play, but a lot of it is easy. Low man wins. Quick man off the ball. Low man, that's a great combination. Beat out on offense. You can do it. Didn't happen over the weekend. And I don't know why I say this till last. I could do a whole segment on this on tomorrow's show. But during the game, I'm watching the game. I'm seeing your guys' responses on Twitter. My girlfriend's asking me things. Why is Ohio State consistently running that play over and over? And I know you might say, Jay, I know the answer. It's because Ryan Day wants to try to throw some different things in the passing game. Yes, but do you know why? You may say no. It's just a different wrinkle in the passing game. Well, I firmly think and believe we see this throughout football, high school, college, NFL. Those bubble screens can be an extension of your running game. And a lot of times, some coaches, sometimes if you don't trust your running backs to get the job done, or if your running backs aren't getting the job done consistently, maybe they haven't done it previously and you don't trust them, or even in that game, you lose trust in them. Either way, you are going to try different ways to have some type of running game during the game. So the bubble screens, man, they weren't working. And I firmly think and believe, I've seen this at every level of football, that if you're running bubble screens in that moment at the time, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, let's run a bubble screen, What are you showing? 3rd and 5. Sometimes you want to run with the running back. I would not do that a lot of times, especially with Ohio State running backs right now. One in particular, not saying names anymore, but you got to use that play specifically and make sure it works. But don't run it back over and over and over. But when you don't have a running game, you want to have an extension of the running game in some way. You try to get it through your passing game, and a quick bubble screen is a way to do that. It wasn't working at all. Penn State was too good. The secondary is a strength of the defense, and we saw it on full display. They kept stopping it over and over and over, and Ryan Day kept running it. Weird, man. Really, really weird. That's what we witnessed over the weekend. Just a quick snapshot. I could have talked about more, some of the other things. Penn State, Sean Clifford, Parker Washington, Kaytron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, P.J. Mustipher, Joey Porter Jr. Those guys made it hard for Ohio State over the weekend, and Ohio State still won 44-31. In a game where I said, hey, it's a B grade because I'm feeling nice, it should probably be more of a B minus one now in the moment. I once again, after rethinking it, should probably be more of a C game, C plus game. Even C plus might be being too nice. If that's what you're doing against the number 13 team in the country, winning by 13 points when you score 4 touchdowns quickly, less than 9 minutes in a 4-minute span, all of a sudden, what's going to happen? Penn State's wondering what's going on, and people around the country are wondering, is Ohio State really showing us more things now and confirming what we have thought or some have thought over the rest of the season? I think they have. Northwestern this coming Saturday. Buckeyes will probably be close to 40-point favorites. I haven't seen the bet online. The line at bet online is probably 36, 37-point favorites right now. Should probably move forward and closer to 39 and a half points prior to kickoff. Buckeyes should blow out the Wildcats at Northwestern. Shouldn't be a contest. I hope you watch it. I hope to see Kyle McCord and Derek Brown in this game. This should be a blowout. The Buckeyes have things to fix. We'll discuss more of the issues, things I like, things I didn't like in this game tomorrow, Wednesday, as they start preparation for the Northwestern game later on in the week. I am done talking for the day. I talk a lot. This game can have me talking for days. I didn't talk a lot during the game. Maybe I saved the words for y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Subscribe to the page on YouTube, Locked on Buckeyes YouTube page. And when you do so, hit that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. It's a free way, easy way to allow yourself to know what's going on with the show and when there will be new shows aired in live for you to enjoy on the YouTube right here from Locked on Buckeyes. Thank you for making Locked on Buckeyes your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked on Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Locked on Buckeyes, Locked on Sports Today, they are both available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your fine podcast.